Hello and welcome to our lesson on volume of cones. Today we're going to use our formula V is equal to 1/3 pi r squared h to find the volume of a cone. Now just to give you a little insight as to where the formula comes from, it comes from our cylinder formula. And basically 3 cones, if they have the same height and the same radius, will actually be the same as one cylinder. Seems a little strange, but I'll prove it to you here. If you remember our formula for finding volume, it's big BH. So I'm going to pull this right here, and just to kind of remind you of how we found volume. Okay, when we're looking for volume, what we're going to do is we're actually going to find the volume of the bottom layer. Now that's this big B right here. So if I want to know the volume of just this one layer, I'm going to do pi r squared, because that's how you find the area of a circle. Then you're going to multiply it by how many layers do we have? So I have a height of 4, so that means I have 4 layers. So I'm going to multiply that by 4, which is our height. So in this case, the volume is equal to pi times the radius, which is 3 squared times 4. So the volume is equal to, let's see, 3 squared is 9, 9 times 4 is 36. So this would be 36 pi, if I left it in terms of pi. Well, let's find the volume of these cones right here. I'm telling you the volume of a cone is 1/3 pi r squared h. So in this case, it's going to be 1/3 times pi. So volume is equal to 1/3 times pi times 3 squared times 4. Whoops. So volume is equal to, let's see, 3 squared is 9. 9 times 1/3 would be 3, and 3 times 4 would be 12. So this would be 12 pi. Now this is also going to have the same volume. So this also has a volume of 12 pi. This, because it's the same size, also has a volume of 12 pi. Well, guess what we get when we add 12 pi plus 12 pi plus 12 pi? You got it. We get 36 pi. 36 pi is equal to 12 pi plus 12 pi plus 12 pi. So the big thing you need to know here, the big thing that you need to know is that a cylinder is equal to 3 cones. Or you could say a cone is 1/3 of a cylinder. So I'll say that one more time. The cylinder is the same as 3 cones in terms of volume. Cylinder is equal to 3 cones. Or you could reverse that and say a cone is 1/3 of a cylinder. All right, so now let's use that formula. Our formula here is V is equal to, I said it's 1/3 of the cylinder. 1/3 of the cylinder. So here you go. That's why I'm multiplying it by 1/3. Okay, 1/3 pi r squared h. So V is equal to 1/3 times pi times the radius, which in this case is 3, times the height, whoops, it's 3 squared, which is 9. All right, I'm going to have to punch this in my calculator here. Whoops, got a little too carried away there. So for me, this is going to be a little tricky. So what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to type in 1 divided by 3 and hit enter. You might want to do that too, depending on the calculator you have. If it doesn't have very good fraction functions, just do 1 divided by 3 and hit enter. That should give you 0.3 repeating on your calculator screen. And then just keep hitting the rest of the problem. So go times pi times 3 squared. I'm going to cheat and just type in 9 times 6. Something's not right with mine here. And I got 56.548. So 56.548. And that means your volume is approximately, because we're rounding to the nearest tenths place, take a look at the 4. It's 4 or less, so we're going to let this 5 rest. So 56.5, and these would be cubic inches. Okay, let's try another one. A cone-shaped paper cup is filled with water. Oh, you've seen these. These things you might see at a water cooler. So here we have a cone-shaped paper cup. Now this thing is filled with water. The height of the cup is 10. So from top to bottom, that's going to be 10 centimeters. And the diameter is 8, so that means going all the way across here. That's going to be 8. So my formula, V is equal to, whoops, I forgot a very important thing here, 1/3 pi r squared h. So V is equal to 1/3 times pi times your radius. Now your radius here is not 8. Diameter is 8. Radius goes halfway across. So radius only goes halfway. That would be 4. That's half of 8 is 4. So 4 squared times 10. And let's see how they want the answer here. They would like the answer as an exact answer, which means write your answer in terms of pi. So that means we're not actually going to be using the pi button on our calculator. So there's a couple ways you could do this. We could do 4 squared. You probably know what 4 squared is. 4 squared is 16. 16 times 10, well, 16 times 10 is 160. And then times 1/3. So that's going to be 160 over 3. And then you could just leave the pi symbol there, and that would be centimeters cubed. Now that's one way you could do it. Another way you could do it is actually do 1 divided by 3 times 4 squared times 10. Now, the way my calculator is set up here, I have to change my settings here, so hang on just a second. Okay. So I had to just change a quick setting on my calculator. So another answer that you could have written down here is 53.3 with the bar over it. Don't forget your pi symbol, centimeters cubed. And that works as well. No rounding on this when it says exact. So you could have answered it that way. You could have answered it with 160 over 3 pi. You could have said 53 and 1/3 if you're using the Texas Instrument calculators. That works nicely too. Okay, let's try another one. Find the volume of the composite shape and round your answer to the nearest tens place. Okay, well this is wonderful because we have the volume of the total. And essentially what we're going to do here is we're going to take the cylinder and we're going to add the cone. Okay? So volume is equal to, now the cylinder is pi r squared h, and the cone is 1/3 pi r squared h. Okay, let's talk about the cylinder first. So that's going to be pi times your radius. Your radius here is going to be halfway across, so that means your radius is 4. So 4 squared times your height of 4 plus 1/3 times pi times your radius of the cone. Well, the cone shares a circle with the cylinder, so it's got to have the same radius. So this is going to be 4 squared times the height. Now the height of my cone is actually 5. Now if you're real savvy, you could put this whole thing in your calculator all in one step. If you're not as savvy, and it also depends on what calculator you're using, then you'll probably want to just type it in. So pi times 4 squared times 4. And I'm going to take this out several decimal places. I'll do my good rounding at the end. No rounding to the tenths place here. So I'm going to take that out probably 4 decimal places. I'll round to the tens place at the end, but not here. Okay, now let's do the next calculation. So 1 divided by 3 times pi times 4 squared times 5. So that's going to give me 83.7758. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, without clearing anything, I'm just going to go ahead and hit the addition button so I don't have to type in the 83.7758 again. And I'll just type in the 201.0619. So that's giving me an answer of 284.8377. I'm going to round to the nearest tens place, so I've got to look at that 3. That 3 is less than 5. Remember, if it's 4 or less, let it rest. So 284.8, and that's cubic feet. All right, we have one last one to go. Find the exact volume of your shape. Write your answer in terms of pi. That means no pi button here. I actually like it better this way. So our volume here, our total volume, is equal to the volume of a cone plus the volume of another cone. Oh boy, I'm not very good at drawing cones. So the volume is equal to 1/3 pi r squared h plus 1/3 pi r squared h. So volume is equal to 1/3 pi times your radius. Well, let's see. Radius right here looks like it is 6. So 6 squared times the height. Well, it looks like your height is 8 plus 1/3 pi r squared. So they share the same radius. It's going to be 6 squared times, oh, and this one also has a height of 8. So actually, I could have just found the volume of 1 and just doubled it. But clearly I didn't do that. So let's go ahead and calculate this. So 1 divided by 3 times, now we're leaving this in terms of pi. It says in terms of pi, so no pi button. Don't hit the pi button. Times 6 squared times 8. And I typed something in again wrong. So I'm getting 96. So this is going to be 96 pi. And since this one's the same thing, this is also going to be 96 pi. Now because they both have a pi symbol on there, all I have to do is just add 96 plus 96. And that's 192 pi. And we're going to say these are cubic centimeters. Okay, here's our final answer. What I would like you to do is get back on the website, and I want you to do 1 through 8 on the worksheet that's linked right next to this website. Okay, so go on my website, and actually it's linked right to my video. It's right next to my video. Okay, so go on my website, look right next to my video, and you'll see a link for the worksheet. You do not need to print it. What I would say is start with the odd questions and then continue to fill in. Text me or email me if you have any questions. Good luck, you guys.